The worst part is with the old New York, speaking of the people who are older, people who are retiring, they can't stay in New York State.
Because it's too expensive.
Too expensive. So they pack up and go to North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida.
Is it taxes? Is it real estate?
It's both. It's taxes and it's an opportunity. It's both of those two things, right? So they decide to head on down to North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee. They actually have a name for us in the Carolinas. They call us halfbacks. We went to Florida and halfway back. It's true. They call us halfbacks. That's how many New Yorkers go there.
Well,
but here's the worst part.
Most people who go to Florida go, this is a mistake.
There we go. See? Well, the sad part here is, though, Florida actually has more people than we have and half of our budget. And the Governor Scott actually thanked Cuomo for sending all the people down there because 15% of New York State's budget is actually pensions. And so many people who have pensions are actually leaving New York State and going someplace else. So New York State people are paying for the pensions, and then they're being spent in other states.
Wow.
It's a terrible idea. The state is broken. It is so broken. And people are talking about, if you're a Democrat, you're saying, everything's still great. If you're a Republican, you're saying, well, tweak this or tweak that. I'm saying rebuild from scratch. There are things you have to change. You have to change the root so you can make the branches actually die. We keep clipping branches. The weeds keep growing.
Now, we got way off track with this school shooting thing, and I wanted to get back to it because I think it's a very complex issue, and I don't know what the answer would be. I think
there is no one
answer. Right. I think you found problems, and these problems that you're willing to discuss, that very few people are that these people are lonely and sad, that it's a public suicide, and that they're on psychotropic drugs.
Absolutely.
And I don't know why you don't think that other people want to fix it. I just don't think that they have a solution that they can discuss that is not so controversial that it overwhelms the rest of their messages. What could be done?
Sure. I have a couple of answers.
Okay.
The issue is this is an issue that's been going on literally for decades. So there is no do this and it's done. Right? There are several things. One of them is fixing education. The other one is fixing family courts. These are two things
let's start slow.
Sure.
How do you fix education?
Absolutely. It is a complete reboot. Right now, the first thing you want to do for education is you want to make sure there is no standardized testing until high school. None whatsoever. Standardized testing is bad for several reasons. Number one, it's an unfair way of grading teachers. Right? Teachers are now graded by how their students do in a standardized test, which is silly. That doesn't mean you're a good or a bad teacher. Next, it makes a bunch of kids who are 10, 11, 12, 13 years old feel stupid because they're not good test takers. And you create now a secondary class of student for absolutely no reason. Because the next reason is standardized testing is no indication of success in life. You could be a great test taker at 12 or 13 or a terrible test taker, and it does not mean you'll be successful or not successful in life. Last, it's how New York State often will decide how to fund schools. So it's a way of funding schools that's also unfair. There's no advantage to standardized testing, except it means the federal government now begins to control our schools more.
So when you say that standardized testing has there's an effect on funding, does that mean that if a school does really well, they get more money?
Yep, often it is. It's part of a very complex algorithm that New York State has that almost no one can actually find.
That seems like it should almost be the opposite. Mm-hmm. That if a school does poorly, that they should put more resources into that school because it's not being effective.
In theory, that's true. I'm not sure that's accurate either. We throw about $22,000 per student per year in New York State, more even than California, and it doesn't work. We have mediocre results at best. Dollars isn't the answer. It's revamping the system, right? Funding is not the answer.
So how do you revamp the system?
There's more parts than that. The first one was just getting rid of that. The second thing is we shouldn't even have K through 12. K through 12 is an anachronism and shouldn't exist.
Why is that?
Because the last 2 years, should be K through 10. The last 2 years of high school for a huge chunk of people, gym, study hall, video games, and probably smoking weed. Just nothing but bad for too many students, just sitting around doing nothing. They have no purpose. They have no community. They have no reason to do anything. They're unhappy, right? Another reason why they're unhappy.
Isn't that a gross generalization that they're unhappy and they're not doing anything? I mean, there's probably a lot of kids listening to this that are 16 and 17. They're working their ass off right now.
Absolutely. And I have a solution for them.
Their future.
And I have a solution for them that's even better. I have a solution. Again, let me keep moving.
Okay, go ahead.
Right. First thing is, how do I know what I just said is true? Right. You just asked that question.
K through 10.
I'll tell you why what I just said, why I know is true. Because for the vast majority of students going to college now, the first year of college is 13th grade because they're not ready for school. Because the last 2 years didn't prepare them for college. If it did, we wouldn't require 13th grade. How do I know it's 13th grade? The average student now takes 6 years to graduate college. So the results show me that I'm correct, right? Mm-hmm. The results of what's happening. And here's the worst part. Now we ship these kids off to college who many of them don't even want to go to college. So we send them anyway. takes them 6 years to graduate. They're 24 years old with at least $50K in debt, if not more. Minimum $50K, some $100K, some $200K, depending on what it is. And now there's no job for what they want to do, and now they're working at Starbucks. Wow, what a disaster that is. We wonder why our kids coming back home. So how about this instead? At 10th grade, take a test. You pass a test, you get a diploma. Whether you were homeschooled, private school, public school, diploma's yours. Awesome. Now you have 5 choices, and this is exactly to your point. You have 5 choices. Choice number 1, you're a kid who's hardcore. You think that college is your answer. Good. Go to 2-year prep school. Imagine that kid who right now you just said is busting his ass. He could be in a prep school of his choice, and the people in that prep school are all kids who want to be in that prep school. It would change his entire situation. No more knuckleheads who don't want to be there, who are forced to be there, who are cutting class. The kids who will be there are those who want to be there. The teachers, no disciplinary issues. They want kids who want to be there. Better for them. They could hustle better. Now they're ready for college when they get there. They take advantage of incubators, of internships, maybe even graduate in 3 years. Now they're rocking and rolling. Less debt, better off. Life is good. Better services, better everything for less money. I'm not done. You're not that kid. You're the kid who's super smart. You want to become a scientist. You want to get a PhD. Awesome. Go right to an associate's degree. Start right away, 16, 17, 18, get a 2-year degree because you're that good. Take your SATs. You're that smart. You're Einstein. Awesome. Go do that. You don't want any of those things. No worries. Go to trade school. Become a plumber, a carpenter, mason, whatever the case may be. Go do it. New York State desperately needs tradesmen. Desperately. The average tradesperson in New York State is about 50 years old. Too old for an average. Should be 30-something for an average. 35 maybe for an average. It's too high, which means we have a lot of trades jobs that are not filled. And a lot of foreign labor that has to come to New York State. Right? New York kids aren't doing it. Why? We've been told a lie. And that lie is the only way to success, the only way is to do well in high school, get a great 4-year degree, and go get a job and sit behind a computer all day. That's a lie. That is a way to success. It is not the only way to success. There are a lot of kids now, I'm sure you know people like this, who they spent the first 5, 10 years of their life trying to make it that way, struggling through school. Then at 28 years old, they go, I just want to build houses, man. Then they go build a house. Or I just want to be a computer guy, and they just make apps. They just go do something they want to do. They should have been doing that at 18.
Well,
still not done.
For most people, though, they don't know what they want to do. That's a big part of the problem.
I get that all the time.
They don't have a passion. They don't have a direction, and they're confused.
Yes. This is one of my biggest complaints I got about this plan, right? Because the other 2 ideas are just go get a job,
right?
Just go to work, or start a business. And what you just said, that's what I get all the time. But Larry, they're 16. They don't know what they're doing. Good. Make your mistake at 16, not 26. We're making mistakes at 26. We have people who are lost at 26. We have a generation now. If you ask the people in their 20s right now across this nation, you say, do you feel like an adult? Over half will say no. Over half will say no.
40-year-olds will say that.
Not as much, but yes, but not as much. No, it probably won't be over half. It won't be over half.
Okay.
You go to 20-somethings, over half will say, no, I don't feel like an adult. Right? Because they're making the same mistakes that many people made at 18, 19, 16. They're now making it 25, 26, 28.
Well, there's also not a rites of passage.
Bingo.
There's not something that actually happens to them.
This would actually be that. They'd have to make that choice at 16. But here's the issue. How do I pay for it? And this covers the entire issue that we're just talking about. That's the next question I get. How do you pay for it? New York State says I have to pay for full 12 years of school. Have to pay for it. State has to pay for it. No worries. I was a Marine. When I got a Marine Corps, I got a GI Bill. X dollars. I think it was $100,000. I forgot what it was back then. This is in the 90s. I think I got $100,000, like 10 years to use it. We're going to give all of our kids $20,000 and 5 years to use it. They don't get the physical check, but the state will pay a check to whatever school they want to go to for $20,000. They have 5 years to use it. What does that mean? You can, at 16, start experimenting. You can say, you know what? I know college is for me. I'm going to go to prep school. Here's what I promise you. I promise you this. I'll bet any amount of money you want. Promise you this. As soon as this comes into play, you will find tons of all of a sudden prep schools and trade schools that pop up. And guess how much they're going to cost for 2 years? $20,000. That's going to be the tuition. You might say, well, wow, Larry, that's a lot of money. It isn't. We're paying $44,000 now for each of those kids. We're saving $24,000 per kid and giving them better schooling, more accurate, actual choices. They can learn something. They make their mistakes at 16, 17, which is way better than 26 or 27. And maybe they figure out what they want to do.
Well, why is it so cheap? Why are you going to be able to do that for $20,000 when it costs so much more now? What's going to be different?
The people are going to be choosing.
Right.
Yes.
But the people that are
Yes.
educating these people,
Yes.
how are they going to get paid?
Oh, I
Where's
loved
the
it.
money going to come from?
Great question. Now, a couple things to remember. Teachers ask me all the time. They say, Larry, how are you going to help us? Here's what I tell you. I'm going to get rid of a bunch of your administrators. In New York State, we actually have school districts that have more administrators than teachers.
What?
Yes, that's correct. Do your own homework.
What's the value of having administrators?
Because you have to check boxes for government. You have to check boxes for government. Did you do X? Did you do Y? Did you do Z? These administrators are required.
That's what's going on?
That's correct. There's about $60 billion in our budget in New York State for education, give or take. About $4 billion comes from the federal government. About $35 billion comes from the state, and about $20 billion comes locally, give or take. These are round numbers, and they change yearly depending on who you talk to, but it's about that. Once we get rid of the federal government being involved in New York State, $4 billion goes away. People get afraid. Oh my God, we lose that money. Good. Let it go away. Because all those administrators go away also. If you can get rid of 3, 4, 5, 6 administrators for every 1 or 2 teachers, oh my God,
I'm not
what
a
could you do?
professional educator, but I would imagine that if I was, I would be upset at this. I would say that there's a reason why those administrators are there, and we need them to take some of the administrative weight off of the teachers. The teachers are stressed out enough by teaching these students. They don't have the time to be taking care of all the formalities and the things that these administrators do.
I have never heard that ever, because that's not true. You are the first person to ever say that to me ever in over a year of me doing this.
So
and the
every
reason
teacher
is
would
those
agree with you?
No. Not every teacher. As I said, I never heard it.
You never heard it.
I'm
but
not
you've
saying
talked
teacher.
to a lot of teachers?
Lots of them. Dozens of them.
Okay.
Dozens
and what do they
of
say
them.
about administrators?
And they say awesome
Fuck those
because
punks.
not in those words, but yes, because most of those administrators are actually administering teachers. They're telling them how to teach, what to teach, when to teach, grading them.
Okay, but if they don't, who will?
The parents will.
The parents will.
Yes.
Do you think the parents have the time or the understanding of what an education should comprise of to be able to direct not just their student, what their child needs, but a group of 50 or however large the class is?
Great question. And generally speaking, probably not. But teachers do.
Teachers do.
Yes.
So they're going to self-police?
There'll be some administrators. You're assuming that I'm going to get rid of all administrators?
No,
I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying that.
But you're definitely saying that
You went to school,
administrators-
though. Hold on. You went to school. Mm-hmm. Do you remember how many vice principals there were in any of your schools? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Probably 2 or 3. That was normal in most schools. When I was in school, often it was 2 or 3.
I don't remember.
Now there's 12,
12.
10, 14.
And why is that?
Because they're administrators and they're making sure they're making sure boxes are checked. So here's your alternative. Your alternative is keep funding a broken system and be afraid, which is what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying be afraid.
You're saying teachers will be afraid because
afraid.
Yeah,
Why?
because then
Why
who
afraid?
will educate our kids?
No,
If we don't-
overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed? Okay.
Yeah,
A fear
and
of being overwhelmed.
Not
Yes.
just that, but also like having a mandate, like having a very strict
I'm with you.
curriculum that they have to teach these children.
And that is nothing but a bad thing. I'm going to give you real fast, if you don't mind. I'm going to give you a list of all the time centralized control has worked.
Okay.
Finished.
Centralized control
doesn't
meaning
work.
in education meaning what?
In anything, when does centralized control make things all of a sudden better?
Define centralized control.
A strict mandate from Albany, a strict mandate from D.C. I'll ask you a question. I'm assuming you're old enough that you were in school at one point at 1980 or older.
Yes.
Or before. I was.
Yes.
Prior to 1980, basically the Department of Education didn't really exist as it does now. It did exist, but it was basically just a repository for information. It didn't really do anything, right? It didn't have any power. Since 1980, it began to have power. Do this, and we'll give you money. Don't do this, we don't give you money. Here are your rules, follow them or we punish you. That's what they are now. You learned to read and write. You learned to function in society. So did I. Somehow, every American prior to 1980 went to school, learned how to read and write, learned how to function in society. Somehow it worked. Do I trust the administrator or a teacher? I would rather trust a teacher. Now, does that mean there'll be no administrators? Of course not. There will be administrators. Of course there will be. There will be still principals and things of that sort, of course. But the difference is an administrator cares about checking a box. Check a box. Your students aren't better off because boxes are checked. Your students are better off because your students are getting better and because the parents are happier.
Right, but when you're saying boxes being checked, that means things being covered that they feel are significant.
Yes, for a standardized test. Yes, you said that they feel significant. That's correct. Yes.
Right, well, that someone. I mean, I don't know how curriculums are set up, but I would
Sure.
imagine that people get together and they decide that children need to have a certain amount of ability
Yep.
with grammar,
Yes.
a certain amount of understanding of mathematics.
Yes. I'd agree.
So
yes.
who's going to do that?
How about teachers and the local administrators? And how about the local PTA? What's wrong with that?
So less administrators,
Yes.
but not an elimination of administrators.
I never said that.
So I didn't say you did.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we decide how many administrators are necessary and how many can you cut out? And how much
I
money
love
can you
that.
save?
This is even better. You're gonna love my libertarian ways on this one.
Okay.
Right now, what happens is there is a convoluted way of deciding how.
A what?
A convoluted way.
Oh, I thought you said cum loaded. Did you hear that?
It could be, but no, I don't think it is.
Convoluted.
Convoluted way.
I'm like, this is a new word, and I don't think it should be used.
Is that new?
I don't think so. No, not convoluted. The other one.
Yeah. Okay.
Cum
yes.
loaded. I was
Yes.
like, this is.
I'm
Boy,
I'm
that's a real
sure there's
word.
a fetish there somewhere. I'm
Yeah,
sure there is.
I just haven't heard it.
Me either. See, you're ready to go now. So there's a convoluted way of
learning.
actually of funding these schools. I don't want that. I want to be very simple. I want a flat fee to come from the state.
Mm-hmm.
Here, district, depending on how many kids you have, here's your money. What does that mean? Well, the reality of it is there are about, if I'm not mistaken, about 700 school districts in New York State. A lot. A lot.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. And so what happens now is there's your money. Most of them are going to make no changes because they're going to be afraid. But it's like anything else. They'll be early adopters. And early adopters are going to say, wait a minute. So the federal government isn't telling us to do this. The state government isn't telling us to do that. So we can change some things here.
So when you say here's your money, they're going to get less money than they're getting now?
It depends on the school district. Some
So
will, some won't.
It's not like you'll have less jobs there. They're going to have to decide whether or not they have less
Bingo.
administrators?
You got it. Exactly
Oh,
right.
Jesus.
Yes. And you're saying, oh my God, that's scary. Some of our school districts will fail. Yes. But in New York State, they're all failing now. So why do I care?
But the
We're failing
administrators-
in mass right now.
Are
I'm
the-
okay. Let me finish.
Okay, please go.
I don't want government to be what you always hear, which is elections have consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So I win. I now get to impose my will upon all of you because I won. So what I say goes. I'm supposed to know everything, be everything, create boards and make things happen. I instead want to be the guy who, when you have trouble, I can help. So as school districts begin to have trouble, I will, without question, try to help them. Of course I will.
Right, but there's 700
That's
districts.
correct.
How would you have time to do that?
I won't personally. I'll have people who will do it. Right now, there's already an infrastructure to handle that already. I don't have to create a new one. It already exists. But right now, it's making up reasons to punish people. I don't want it to make up reasons to punish people. I want it instead to say, okay, this school district is lost. How do we help? I only have one string attached to the money I give. Only one, and that is transparency. As I told you before, I'm a business guy. And here's what I know. This is an actual equation that works every single time. Very simple equation. Personal freedom plus transparency plus accountability equals innovation. If we do that, the early adopters will come on. They will find great ways of making things work. They will get rid of some administrators. They will get rid of some teachers. They will hire new ones. They will decide which ones should be given raises. That will happen.
Okay, can I stop you there?
Please, go ahead.
Because what you're saying may work in the world of business because people have incentive to succeed in business, and that incentive is monetary success.
Not always monetary, but yes.
Okay, not always, but for the most part.
Yep, sure.
When you're talking about a school
Yes.
and you cut the funding for the school and say, hey, figure it out. You guys decide how many administrators you want to keep. Aren't the administrators essentially the bosses? Aren't they the ones who are in control? I mean, they're not going to get rid of their own jobs. So what are they going to do? Are
Yeah.
they going to pay the teachers less? Are they going to get inferior teachers?
It's a great question.
And ramp up their control of the cash flow because they realize that there's less of it?
It's a great question. And here's the issue. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not like I win in November and go, great, all the money's gone. It's not how it works. I win in November. People know what the plan is. We start talking about it already. We start bringing parents on board. We start coming up with plans already. The plans, it's like any other organization. You're saying business. I'm thinking, oh, this works in military. This works in business. It doesn't matter. It works in everything. It works in your family. It doesn't matter. If you knew that 6 months from now you were going to have a significant decrease in your income, you would start to make change, particularly if there was someone above you saying, hey, Joe, you're going to have a decrease in your income. How do we make this work? What can we do? If someone's there to guide you and you already have an infrastructure there, you'll begin to fix it.
My fear would be that they would have less teachers. And
It's
they would
possible.
have larger classes.
Totally
And
possible.
the administrators, because they're in control, people don't like to give up control. And
But
they
the
certainly don't
administrators
like to
aren't
release
actually
jobs.
in control. Well, who's
They're not.
actually in control is the PTA. right? The Parent Teachers Association can
So do you
have a
think
lot.
the PTA
boards,
would
the
decide?
school boards would decide.
But they would have to agree with you
Yes.
that they want to get rid of administrators. And
Absolutely.
if they didn't universally across the board, then this fails miserably, and then classes get larger,
Yep.
and then kids get less attention,
Yep.
and then the already piss-poor education system sinks further
Yep.
into the abyss.
And we have two choices. Number one, we can be afraid of that and stay a hostage to a terrible system that's not working, it's failing our kids and making us unhappy and destroying the state. That's option one. Or option two, do that and just watch over it, right? Understanding that that could happen.
But
Here's the thing to
those
remember.
aren't the only two options.
What's the other option?
The
Fund
other
it more?
option is, yes, fund it more.
Boo. Fund
Boo.
a bad system? Boo. No.
Why is that bad?
Okay. If you had a
Well, what's wrong with the system? Let's go over that.
I just
first.
told you already.
No, but I mean, in terms of like how much money are they making, right? And what would increasing that amount of money enhance?
Okay. Two things to remember. The first thing is there's no way in the world that a governor should be deciding what every teacher makes in a state.
Okay.
That's just philosophically wrong.
Okay.
So I'm never going to do that. That is simply philosophically wrong. It's against who I am. Centralized control is a bad idea. Localized control is always a better idea. That premise, I'm never going to even touch that. What I'm trying to achieve here is to make change. I know that locally there will be people who do it right because that always happens. That's just how it works. You will see out of 700 districts, some will decide to get together and mix districts together. Some will decide not to. Some will do different things. You'll see it happen. My point is, this is a major overhaul. I get it.
Right.
But businesses do it all the time. Families do it all the time. If you're able to watch it, I don't want to be the mother or the father, right? Democrats want to be your mother. They want to give you everything. Republicans want to be your father and protect you from everything. I want to be your brother. I want to be the guy that you love. You don't want to live with him, but you love him. And when you need a ride to the airport, he's there for you. I want to be the firefighter, the guy who comes to help when you need me. Now, you're saying, but Larry, school district will fail. Yes, some
No,
will.
that's not what I'm saying.
Well, okay, some might fail. That's what you're saying. Some.
No, I'm not even saying they might fail. What I'm saying is that you're going to put them in a compromised situation.
Yes.
You're going to give them less money, and you're going to say, figure it out.
Yes, but not just. See, you're assuming that it's just, here's money, good luck.
No, here's less money.
Yes.
Here's less money,
yes.
and I think you have too many administrators.
Yep. And let's talk this out over a series of several months.
When you talk to professional
Yes.
educators, do they agree that they have too many
The
administrators
teachers
and that they could do well
always
with less
do.
money?
Yes. So far, every teacher I've met, everyone.
But they agree they could do well with less money?
If they didn't have administrators, yes.
And how much less money are you talking about?
I'm unsure, to be forward with you. Not sure yet. I'm unsure yet.
But you feel like the way to fix the education system is to cut funding. That would, like, for people like me who are on the outside, you
Yep.
hear that and you go, ooh, I already feel like teachers are underappreciated and probably because of that unmotivated.
Because you decided to say the answer is cut funding. It's not what I said.
No.
not what I said.
Regardless of what you're saying.
Yep.
Regardless of what you're saying.
Yep.
What I'm saying is currently,
Yep.
even in California, forget about New York.
Yep.
I feel like teachers are underappreciated.
I would agree with that.
And I feel like it's a noble profession that's
Yep.
incredibly valuable,
Yep.
and the people should be able to make a decent living.
Agreed.
I don't know how the solution to that is to give less money to the school.
You're missing a very important point. If you ask most teachers why they're underappreciated, most of them, they're not going to say that people like you and I don't appreciate them. They're going to say, the system doesn't appreciate me. That's why they're always fighting the system. Oklahoma, they fought the system. They're always fighting the system. What I'm saying is fix the system. The system is heavily controlled in many cases by the federal government, $4 billion worth. So we have to lose $4 billion unless we want to keep the federal government in our system.
But
I don't want that.
Your fix is to let them figure it out. Get the federal government
Yes,
out
but hold on.
and let them figure it out with less money.
I have to push back here.
Okay.
You keep saying, let them figure it out. As if I'm just going to walk away and say, oh, well, good luck. I'm going to go off and hang out in Puerto Rico for a while. No. I'm saying I'm going to facilitate it because you know what I do? I trust teachers more than I trust administrators. I trust the local people that if I give them the right tools, they'll do the right thing. But more importantly, they'll show others as long as they're transparent. What's going to happen is they're going to figure out the right way to deal with teachers. Should School District 1 hire more Spanish teachers versus School District 2? I don't know. I'm not supposed to know that, but they do. And if they make a mistake, then they'll fix it.
When
and
you
then
say
other
they,
counties. Yes.
Are you talking about the teachers themselves Or are you talking about these administrators who you want to eliminate?
I'm talking about the school boards.
The school boards.
The school boards are going to be the ones with the PTA. If we make this work the right way, it will be everyone talking together. It will be school boards talking to administrators, talking with teachers, talking with parents. I don't want schools graded by standardized tests. We've been doing that for years, and we have very, very unhappy people, unhappy students, unhappy parents. I want parents to be happier. I want students to be happier. And you might say, but then, Larry, they won't learn certain things. Is that a horrible thing? I'd rather them be happy than learn AP chemistry. Yes. If that means one school district decides that AP chemistry isn't that important in their school district, it's fine. Those kids will learn it in the prep school, and some kids won't learn AP chemistry. If that makes your school district happy, I'm okay with that. Because it goes to the next level, which of course becomes kids with special needs. You have a special needs kid? How do you make that kid happy? How do you decide whether that kid's successful or not? The standardized testing doesn't work. What do? You start doing check boxes. Does that work? Of course not. That's why you literally have hundreds of parents every single year suing New York State because they were unhappy with their kids getting services but not getting better. I want your kid getting better. You're assuming that because the federal government puts these standards in, that makes them good or bad. It doesn't. If anything, it makes them worse.
I'm not assuming that.
If my kids are happy, that's what I want. Happy New Yorkers means they stay in New York. Happy New Yorkers means they grow their businesses in New York, keep their families in New York.
I get that, but saying happy and saying the solution and the key to happiness is funding them less and getting rid of administrators.
Oh my God, you're such a Democrat, Joe.
I'm
such
not
a Democrat. Yes, you are.
I'm
My God,
not.
you are so a Democrat.
How am I a Democrat?
You got
Just
less
'cause I don't
funding.
agree
Less
with
funding
what you
means
said?
the world's ending. Less funding means the world's ending.
Well,
You're a
for
Democrat.
a lot of people, they hear that you're going to take money away from schools.
The person who only hears that, if the person says all he's going to do is get rid of money from schools, that person is never going to vote for me. That person is probably a Democrat. That person is going to vote for Cuomo. And that's fine. I'm not going to win everybody. I can't win everybody. But I'm going to change a system that is completely broken. If you say this, what you're talking about, people talk about the MTA also in New York City, the MTA. You got to keep funding the MTA. I'm not going to be hostage to a shit system, period. I don't care. I'm not going to be hostage to a shit system. This is a terrible system that is failing New Yorkers, that is failing people in New York City when it comes to the MTA, that's
and for
failing our
people
state.
don't know what that is. That's mass transit.
I'm sorry, yes, if those of you who are not in New York. It's a bad system. I'm not going to be a hostage because of fear. No, I will fight my jailer, period. And my jailer is a system that is broken that says, if you better give me more money, otherwise this will happen. You better give me more money, otherwise this will happen. No, I'm going to fix that system. I'm going to help facilitate fixing that system. I'm not just going to let them go away. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I'm going to help facilitate that system. And to do that, we're going to lose $4 billion. And we'll get over that. We'll fix that. We'll make it happen. We'll make it work. And if you get more people into this state, and this is the most important piece, you can raise money through other ways than just raising taxes on people. And this is the most critical piece. When we hear funding, and this is why I was teasing you and calling you a Democrat, because when you talk about funding, you're talking about more taxes. I'm not talking about that. If you get more people to stay in New York State, you raise your revenue without having to raise taxes on anybody.
But if you raise your revenue, you're going to put more revenue into the schools?
Of course. There'll be more people in the schools, more revenue. Yes.
So
absolutely.
You'll spend more money in the schools.
There'll be more people in the schools and more tax. Of course we would. If we could, of course we would. Of course. New York State has a $170 billion budget with about a $4 billion deficit and $300 billion in debt. And the answer for every Democrat and Republican is more funding. There's going to be nothing left. This state's going to go defunct. It's going to go under in 10 years.
So how do you get more people to come to the state?
All right. First thing, by having a really super cool education system I just talked about.
Super cool education system.
That'll get people to come back.
Are you going to hire someone to create this super cool education system, or are you going to let these teachers figure it out on their own?
If we need,
hey, teachers, build me a super cool education system so that we get more funding.
I already have the infrastructure for the super cool system. I just told you. I've already told you what the infrastructure is. The concept already, the skeleton is already there.
Okay.
Now, once I win in November, we begin to build it out. And yes, it'll be me and other people. Be clear. It's not like New York doesn't have enough workers. We have tons of workers that we can absolutely use to make this happen. Tons of them. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the New York State has the most by percentage government employees, I think in the nation. I know we have the most unionized, but I think we're the most government employees by percentage.
So you're going to move their jobs?
Sure.
Different jobs?
Love it. Yes, let's do that. Love the idea. You're asking details that are simple to fix when the time comes.
And
simple to fix.
So you're going to take people out of what professions and move them into fixing these
Do
things?
you think I actually have decided for every person in New York State what they're going to do?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Of course not.
You're doing it like a show now.
I'm not doing
You're
a
getting,
show.
Do you? You're a Democrat. Look at you. You're a Democrat.
You are a Democrat.
I'm not. I'm just asking you real clean questions here.
You 4 times said you're going to take money away from schools.
But you are, right?
Yes. You've said like 4 times.
Right, because you keep going on about these other things.
Which is what matters more than losing $4 billion from education.
Right, but I just want to be clear about what you're saying, about what the actual plan is.
I'm going to fix this system by creating a good skeleton off the bat that people are going to enjoy and like. And then once I win in November, we're going to fill that skeleton up to make an amazing school system that people are going to be proud of. They're going to want to bring their people. They're going to come back from North Carolina. They're going to come back from Tennessee. They're going to move from Pennsylvania and Massachusetts and want to be part of this system. They're going to see schools that actually work well. They're going to see prep schools get kids into college. They're going to see colleges that actually educate kids and get them into jobs. When they see that happen, they'll all start coming. That's going to happen. It doesn't happen by me saying, how do I fund this? It doesn't happen by me saying being afraid of making a step. You don't have to have the perfect plan to move forward. No plan is perfect anyway. You want a good, solid plan with motivated people. If you have motivated people to take up a plan, it'll wind up being successful. Again, it's how it works.
So this grandiose plan is
They
that
are grandiose.
you're going to get rid of the last 2 years of high school,
plan.
and you're going to offer potential prep school for children, and you're going to, for other kids, offer them trade schools.
Sure.
You're going to get rid of $4 billion in federal funding.
Yep.
You're going to let the schools figure out how many administrators they should have.
With help.
With help.
With help.
And what's the help? Who are you going to hire to oversee this whole thing?
We'll figure it out.
You figure that out.
Yeah. Look, I'm 2 months from the election, away from the election, and then at least 6 months from implementation.
Right.
At least. That's probably low, probably more like 9. But plenty of time. This can't come into play until next September.
Right.
At earliest. Right? The earliest it can come into play is next September. I hope it's that fast. That'd be amazing. I hope it is that fast. But it isn't 5 minutes. It's like I'm not doing this so I can become king. We already have a king, and that's why we're in trouble.
Right.
Right? I want to give localized control many more options. I'm the crazy guy who actually means what he says when I say, let teachers teach. I actually mean that. Most people say it, and then their response then becomes, give more administrators.
So you think what's stopping them now is standardized tests and administrators, and then funding that's based on the success of the tests
That's correct.
In these school districts.
That's correct. The answer is always more funding. The answer is always more funding. And it isn't. It is not that. People always say, we have to fund. That is not the answer. There are better answers out there. Of course